The number one question that I get, honestly, on a daily basis is how do I generate more leads and quickly? Before we can think about the tactics to generate more leads, wherever we want those to be and however much money you want to spend, you have to understand your customer journey. It's literally vital. The most important part of your business, understanding your customer journey. Where are they searching? Where do they live? How do they exist? What are their behaviors? What are their habits? How do they connect with other customers? Ultimately, what we're trying to build is evangelists, and you only can do that by understanding where you're actually hunting. The tactics are good, but what if you're bringing in a bunch of leads that don't mean anything to your business? That's somebody that you never want to actually buy from you, that don't understand your value propositions. So what we're gonna go through today is a customer journey. It's tried, it's true, it's proven, but most importantly, it will help you understand the tactics that connect to each of these segments. The first area we're gonna start with is search. Now, I've been starting to hear some rumblings around that TikTok is gonna replace Google as the #1 search engine. I will tell you right now, as a futurist, I do not think there's any chance of that happening. Google has been building a treasure trove of content for years. In addition to that, aside from being a multi-trillion-dollar business, they have Google paid search, are bidding on keywords for whatever they choose. So there's a whole ad revenue as well. Now, I do think TikTok will be an alternate search engine, the same way YouTube is as well, in terms of the type of content you're looking for, whether tutorial or fun or entertaining. But most importantly, you have to remember, search. Someone has to find you. So the first step in the customer journey is search. And this is specifically, how are people going to discover you? Connected to search is you have needs and you have wants. These are two things that you need to think about in the marketing continuum of how you address those. So connecting back down, your needs and wants will ultimately connect to also how people discover you. Now, we talked in the beginning of this video about lead generation and wanting to build leads to make sure you can build a whole ecosystem because you want more revenue, you want to grow your business. In order to search and discover, both those things have to connect. So you have to determine what are folks actually searching for and what do we want to be considered in when folks are connecting to keywords. So let me give you an example, right? If you're a personal trainer and you're looking to build your business, and you want to make sure you have clients, but you want a specific set of clients that work and live in an age bracket, okay? You want young individuals because that's who you connect with and relate with. Well, plain and simple, the keywords that they're searching for and the ecosystem that they live is going to be very different than a baby boomer. Very different than a baby boomer that's now connected to Facebook and watching memories, etc. Very important here is, what are all the keywords that we want to focus on? Building out your content strategy around that will also help with SEO. And so one of the shorter form content videos that I've touched on this is, if you want to rank #1 for a given keyword in your industry, don't go for the most obvious choice. You want to go for all the ancillary and all the tributary content that you could do to build up from the ground up. So once someone could find you, great success, okay? Your next bit is, you want to be able to immerse individuals in the next stage of this. So what comes next? They need to be able to assess the content, marketing, and materials that you put out. Also your product as well. And so from the first stage of assessment is to be able to immerse your individuals and immerse your clients. This is the type of content you're putting together. Let's say you have a B2B intelligent piece of technology. To truly immerse someone, you want to build a piece of content that they're going to learn something. Maybe it's an ebook, maybe it's a long form white paper, maybe it's video content. But this is now when someone is considering you and they have interest and intrigue. You want to make sure you really nail down how do you then engage and connect with that person. So take very common brands, right? The ultimate driving machine, BMW. When they put together ads, and you're watching an ad, it opens up like every other automobile commercial, but how they immerse you, it's the sound, it's the feel, it's the thought, it's all these different things that can connect to your inner passion and your soul. So how do you create that when you don't have a brand and you're selling a piece of technology? Well, you do that by finding out what your technology does that makes you special. If it's saving time, if it's an evocative software to help you edit video or sound, you have limitless potential. After you then immerse somebody, then they have the choice to confer and determine whether or not this product is right for them. So you have to consider this. And what confer is, I put the dotted line under it, is because this can go either way. Once you immerse someone, they might be considering your brand. They might be thinking about what they can do. But the stage of conference is now, how do you then hook them and nurture them through the lead cycle? So once we've immersed individuals and they've had a chance to confer, now they're evaluating the whole landscape. This stage of the journey is when people are actually locking in to determine you versus your competitive set. So another big piece of this journey is to narrow down the focus. How do you help people get to a better stage of buying and get people to get to yes faster? This is about sales velocity. This is about shortening the sales cycle. So back to our BMW analogy. BMW is so smart because in the search and discover, what they're doing is, if somebody is searching for a Mercedes-Benz or they're searching for an Audi, BMW is spending more on paid search keywords when someone is searching Mercedes-Benz than they are in their own branded keywords. Why would they do that? If I'm searching for Mercedes-Benz, that means I'm in the market for a similar luxury car. But if I can show up now as a BMW, I can potentially conquest that individual. So the next big phase here is in the assessment phase. This is where your content really matters. What do we do that's super special? And to help narrow things down, you need to make sure that individuals have the ability to say, am I making the right choice, yes or no? Okay, so now you're gonna take them to the next phase, which is the buying phase, which is a very important phase because this is now where you make the monies, okay? All about the monies. The buying cycle and the buying phase is an experience that you can shape. How someone is buying, where they're buying, to the degree that they are, how do you track that information? All of this is not just the sale, right? So let's assume, back to our B2B enterprise example. So in the buying phase, this is ultimately how people pay and ultimately acquire. The restaurant business is changing rapidly because now if you go to a restaurant, what you see is the server's typically coming over now with some form of a tablet. So Toast being the leading software, but that experience used to be very difficult, right? You used to hand somebody a credit card. They'd walk away with that credit card. They'd come back. There was a time delay. You're waiting. You're now in a rush. You're done. You just want to get out. Having a tablet in hand improves the buying experience. So during this customer journey, you have to think to yourself, what methodologies, what tactics, what things can I put in place to improve the buying experience? This could be, how do I add a pleasurable convenience to the buying experience? How do I add a concierge layer to this? So there's an endless amount of things to improve the buying experience. But second to that is under buy, you have to think about how you're acquiring customers as well. One of the big pitfalls I see is that most clients and customers of ours are not thinking about the cost of acquisition. The cost of acquisition is going to be significantly more expensive than developing what's called customer lifetime value. The final stage in the customer journey, we're going to talk about consumption and then influence, turning individuals into influencers and evangelists. Before we get there though, think about the buying phase, because the reality is the cost to acquire a person that's going to buy a BMW or going to buy a Louis Vuitton bag for the first time, you have to hit them with brand impression after brand impression. You have to find like-minded individuals, connect to your brand, etc. But once you get there, the cost to acquire that individual is the paid media ads. It's the investment in marketing. It's the events. It's all the things that you're doing to now convince that person that you're in. So before they have an amazing experience, that cost is going to be a lot higher than now them buying you again. They're still both very important. And I try to counsel clients all the time that if you're working together, you have to think about the importance of cost per acquisition is going to be expensive at certain times. But if you can nurture someone through a long lifetime value over a period of time, you will make that money back tenfold. So the next phase after purchase, you're going into a connected experience of consumption, how people continue to consume. So from a consumption standpoint, you have the ability to use and connect. And then as I mentioned, influencers, we want to make sure that we also have the ability to influence others, building other evangelists into the model, okay? And under influence side, you want to make sure you nurture and you want to make sure you communicate further. This is about truly making people love your product. So on the top of this, the top of the sphere is we're talking about consumption. So how are people continuing to use, connect, etc.? You know, some of my female friends will use the same hair care product or the same stylist over and over again. What's the experience that's connecting them into to consume that anti-curly hair or that volumizing shampoo or whatever that is? Is it because they have a great product experience? Most likely. So a couple of tricks you'll see in consumer packaged goods is that, you know, companies like Unilever will take a bottle and actually increase the size of the hole. So when you have shampoo, they want you to consume more. So they're trying to hack into this idea of, well, if this person's used to using this much shampoo, if we open the apparatus, they're gonna use more shampoo, they'll consume faster. The reality is, that's all BS. You never wanna connect your consumers by tricking them. You wanna offer an authentic experience to make sure they're consuming because the demand is there and because they love your product. The second thing is how they use your product. So what I often encourage individuals to do is now go back in and survey. So we use HubSpot as our marketing automation platform. Very easy to create custom surveys and connect with folks. To learn how they use it, how they experience it, how they like it. It's not just a feedback loop. It's intelligence to now know, okay, if I know that someone's only using my product at night, how do I increase consumption by changing that pedagogy to have them consume it during the day? How do I change my habits? Maybe I offer another product line. That could be innovation. And then the final bit is influence. The whole landscape that we've created with social media is around influence. There's a whole market now of influencers who are solely creating content and connecting to make sure that their voice means something. When you hear of Mr. Beast and Mr. Beast creating videos and philanthropy. If you hear about Mr. Beast opening a hamburger shop, okay, and he's able to sell that out, that's someone that has a hugely influential voice, not just someone who's creating content. So now that we have this whole market of influencers, don't just think about it as people talking about your product. This is about creating long-standing love, because you want somebody through word of mouth, through connection, through all these things, to make sure that they become an evangelist organically. And yes, of course, you could pay for that. But I would say the beginning of the customer journey, when you're learning this end to end, understanding how people use and consume your product will ultimately drive influence. Always remember to get reviews during the process. So this is the customer journey. I bring it up because if you can map out your product to this, and I've talked about in the past the business model canvas as well, if you can use this, you'll truly understand how do I then build a marketing and strategy plan around generating more leads. But leads that will not just come into your funnel and maybe never close. These are ways to get your sales velocity and your cycle even shorter to make sure that people fall in love with your product. Thank you so much for watching. Drop in the comments exactly what you're struggling with in the customer journey, and I'll make sure to get back to each and every one of you.